Yeah, a very good evening to you, and welcome to the show once again on Fozan channel. And I hope you do well to subscribe to me and share the program as well for a larger group of audience to also just share in the joy with you. Don't be selfish, as I always tell you. This is the new revolution in YouTube videography and channeling. So I hope you do well to engage me on this channel. Today we are going to talk about lockdown. There are several lockdowns going on across the world. Lockdowns. I'm going to do it in relation with much emphasis to some areas which are densely populated, especially Africa, Asia, some poor Asian countries, even the first world country in the United States of America, UK, and some areas, even the rich countries, sometimes they have areas which are crowded and are low income earners. And so I'm going to do program to reflect that. So the lockdown, as the term when you go into the dictionary, is the confining of prisoners to their cells, typically in order to regain control during a riot, as you see. But there is another term which reflects the reality of what is happening across the world regarding the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic that is crippling the world economy at large. And that term is a state of isolation or restricted access instituted as a security measure, right? A state of isolation or restricted access instituted as a security measure in order for government to gain control, to enforce their decisions. You can see that so many governments have asked their citizens to stay home so that we prevent the massive gathering. By massive gathering, we know there is a risk of the spreading of the pandemic COVID-19 coronavirus. And so the government has, governments over the world have asked their citizens to stay at home so that they will likely have to flatten the curve instead of making the curve climb upwards to increase the number of infections. But there are some misconceptions in some areas, with emphasis on Africa and some poor Asian countries. When in terms of, we have to educate our policemen to understand that the lockdown is not necessarily the same as curfew, right? It's not necessarily the same as curfew, because in terms of curfew, let me go to dictionary definition, one of the definitions. Curfew, a regulation requiring people to remain indoors between specified hours, typically at night, most especially some of us who are in Ghana and Nigeria who were born there before coming abroad. We know that when we talk of curfew, sometimes they have it at 6, especially in Ghana, 6 p.m. in the evening to 6 a.m. in the morning, meaning that time nobody is supposed to come out. During that time, there isn't any permission for people to go out. There isn't any permission for people to go out and do anything at all. If it is curfew, the whole country should remain quiet. Everybody should be inside. But unlike lockdown, we have opportunity of going out and seeking permission when you want to buy food or get some essential groceries to save yourself in the midst of this pandemic era. And so during such period, and one thing that we should note is that in the family, not everybody is allowed to go out. You have to get maybe one designated person who will be going out always, will be driving from outside the house and be buying all the groceries and all the essentials that the house needs. And so there isn't need for so many people to go out. If so many people go out, it means the purpose of the lockdown has been defeated, because the purpose of the lockdown, mind you, is to restrict people at home, to ensure that the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic is not widespread and will not become a calamity for the world at large. So in terms of our income level, some people in Africa do tend to mistake the lockdown in advanced and rich countries to that of Africa. When we say lockdown in the advanced world, you can see that governments over the world have given stimulus packages. The United States of America has passed a bill of more than $2 trillion to cushion their economy and pay people who are at home not working at this crucial point in time. So unlike the same like Germany, United Kingdom, Qatar here, they've also budgeted for such necessity when it comes to this crisis. And also, when you compare that to African countries, especially Ghana, the budget for fighting the COVID-19, I hear, is $100 million. Even that the president was saying, the finance minister was saying, we are going to get that from the IMF, which is so unfortunate. But I think the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, will exercise the need and the maximum effort to ensure that we get the money from our international reserve. I know we have money to do that. I trust the government will do that for us. And so our income is not the same. And so when government want to implement lockdown, in as much as it's difficult for government to provide stimulus packages just like the one in the rich countries, I'm not saying government should pay the same amount as the rich can, no, but government should try as much as possible to help the economy by giving them money aside the $100 million budgeted for the fight of COVID-19. I don't know, even the clear definition has not been given as to how the $100 million is going to be disbursed. Maybe possibly there is going to be some food packages for the populace, but for 30 million people in Ghana, I think $100 million is too small for our people back home. And at this point in time, to those who have reached should also do well to support their neighbors. There isn't need for you to go far away to give donation. Just you get somebody, your neighbor close to you that you think will be in need, that you think he relies on his daily wages to survive. You can just help the person. It's some kind of jihad, as in Islam we say sadaqah, or some kind of jihad or sadaqah that Allah will bless, or God will bless you abundantly when you embark on such activity. We also have essential service or workers who are exempted from this lockdown. The essential service or workers who are exempted from this lockdown are those whose services are needed for the survival of the state in this crucial period. Hence, we talk about the nurses, doctors, pharmaceutical industries who are selling drugs. We also talk of food production, fuel station. We also have security service, especially security service all over the world are those who are the direct implementers of the lockdown. And so definitely we can't leave them out of this equation. Also, when you look at government stimulus packages that is going to provide, if possible, I think money will be better than the food package. You can give them some bags of rice and sugar and some bags of rice and sugar. That's the basic commodity that people do enjoy a lot. And add some amount of money. Maybe every household, especially, let me start from Ghana, maybe every household, let's say you give them every household per head, per person, maybe 5 million per month, 500 cedis per month. I think, so if there are 3 people, we are talking about 1,500 Ghana cedis. That's a suggestion anyway. That the minimum amount that will cushion the person at this crucial point in time per month. And also, we also have a term called state of emergency, which is not necessarily the same as the lockdown, but it can be equated in some term. Because in terms of state of emergency, we say a situation of national danger or disaster in which a government suspends normal constitutional procedures in order to regain control of the state, right? And so at this crucial point in time, we are at war with the invisible pandemic. And so if we are at war, definitely the government can also declare state of emergency, though not necessarily the same as the lockdown, but a state of emergency can also allow the government to gain the necessary control to ensure that his laws are implemented during this crucial period. And also, especially in Ghana, we've been hearing some videos coming out here and there that the policemen are beating people here and there, and the police department and the military armed forces have come to debunk those assertions. Even in some cases, an army officer who was army officer who was responsible for maltreating a civilian has been removed from the operation. His services has been terminated from this operation, and that's a good thing we are getting out there from Ghana. And also, there are some difficulties in some other African countries, but some of the videos too are true, in as much as some are fake and are concocted. Some are also true. And so we do urge our armed forces and police officers to act accordingly to the constitution, not to beat any Ghanaians, because we are their families and our brothers. It is within us that they graduated to become police officers, and so they shouldn't use this pandemic and lockdown to inflict harm on most Ghanaians. Some Ghanaians too are also difficult, same as some Nigerians and other African people. They are difficult. They will come out when you ask them not to even come out. In Italy and Spain and other advanced countries, when you breach lockdown procedures, you are fined money, you will pay money, and so you should take it as seriously as such. And so even in Ghana, I heard the president has given out the possibility of fining some civilians who may prove difficult in this difficult period, who may breach the lockdown procedure and proceedings. And so I think that would be the best of way to scare people from breaching the law, because by allowing the people to come out and mix and gather in large numbers, that's the possibility of the disease spreading. And also I hear some policemen were also enforcing the lockdown, but later when they were tired and had to eat, they had to come together. Right? They had to come together, sit together. They, according to the laws, you are not supposed to sit together. According to, let me quote the source, Shomokwe on Silver FM. I heard it during Kineben's program. That Shomokwe, I think yesterday, he said that the police officers mistakenly, when they were tired and about to take their food, they had to come together and sit together, which has breached the lockdown proceedings, because effectively, if one of them is infected, possibly the danger is he may spread it across all of them. The 10 of them, he said 10 of them had to come together and eat together, which is quite unfortunate. Please, in as much as we do the job, make sure we try to remember the rules, that we shouldn't congregate. The different distance between 1.5 meters or 2 meters is better for us to keep safe distance from each other to ensure that we are safe accordingly. Do well to subscribe to the show once again and share the program as well. Thanks very much for spending your precious and golden opportunity to engage me on this channel. God richly bless you. Peace. Cheers. Hope to meet you some other time again. Bye-bye.